We are live. All right. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday, 26th, and I'm excited for my next guest. This guy has accomplished more in one lifetime than most people will accomplish in 3 lifetimes. He's an author, a speaker, a director, producer of movies and music. He's an author. He's an attorney. It's amazing. So I'm super, super excited for you to spend a little time with our next guest. It's time to own the phone. All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to On the Phone. I am extremely honored, and it's a great pleasure to have my guest, Nick Nanton, with me today. How are you, Nick?
Doing well, man. How you doing, Wally?
I'm good, man. It's a great experience. I really, really appreciate you making some time for us today. I want to just, I want to go through your biography. It's only slightly smaller than the Magna Carta, so there's there's a ton of stuff on here. I can't read the whole thing because we'll have no time to talk. But so basically, he is an attorney, and he was named Best of the Bar and referred to as one of Orlando's top 10 young and powerful. But prior to becoming an entertainment attorney, Nick spent more than a decade in the entertainment industry as an award-winning songwriter and television producer. For those of you that follow Nick, you've probably seen him post probably a couple songs, or at least a song a month of people you're working with and stuff like that, right?
Yep.
It says he's also an avid guitarist, songwriter, and he's enjoyed great success, including co-writing the 2004 Winders Songwriting Contest Grand Prize winning. It says right here that he's been featured on primetime television and has produced songs and worked on projects with a who's who in the music industry. He's also produced an album titled Won't Give Up to raise money for Stop Children's Cancer. And he's also quoted the title track was the song being performed in Times Square in front of 80,000 people and was chosen as a theme song for the year for the American Cancer Society, reaching out to cancer kids, which is why I saw your intro that he's, not just amazing what he does, but he's a great human being. He's also the co-author of the books Celebrity Branding You and the Dixon Nanton Business Law Library, as well as educational courses. And basically, he has interviewed just about everybody on the face of the planet, and he's also involved celebrities in his books, including George Bush, H.W. Bush, Don Shula, Bobby Knight, Roy Firestone, and a number of other people. He's also worked with multi-platinum recording artists, Tom Petty, Brent Maher, the Judds, Willie Nelson, and Ike and Tina Turner. And then he's also the managing director of his own law firm as well. So, here's the great thing is he's got a wonderful family, and his wife Christina and their 2 sons, Brock and was it Bowen? And then your daughter's name is
Addison.
What's that?
Addison.
Okay, cool. So, and lastly, he's currently a member of the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, also known as NARAS, home to the Grammys and cast a vote in the annual Grammy Awards. He's also the chairman of the Orange County Bar Association's Entertainment Law Committee. I gave you guys a high level of this, but it's amazing. I had a great chance to meet you probably about 10 years ago, and you've been wonderful and kind and everything since I've met you. So I appreciate you making time for us today.
Of course, man. It's good to be here. And by the way, that is, I would love to know when you can where you found that bio, because I have not seen that bio, and that's probably 10 years old. So you have to show me where the link is so I can fix it.
It's under nicknanton.com. But anyway, so there's probably more of it there, and that's why I asked if your daughter's name was on there. I'm like, huh. Anyway, so I do apologize if I missed something. Did I miss something?
Well, it shows it's a lot of things. Like I've evolved a lot from when that was written, right? Just we all, as Tony Robbins told me, human beings desire progress. And so it's funny to actually, there's a lot of things that I used to talk about that I don't talk about just because they got old to me, but it was interesting. No, it's no problem. It's just interesting that it was there. So
very cool. Well, I appreciate you doing that. So, what I'm hoping for is Having some technical difficulties here, folks. Sorry about that. Hopefully Nick will come back in. There he is.
All right, you froze, man. Sorry, I just heard you say what I'm hoping for is, and that's all I heard.
What I'm hoping for is that the internet does not do that again. So we've got a couple of snafus here. So what I'm hoping for is, I mean, I know a lot about you just because I've known you for a while and I've read up on you, I've talked to you before, but what I'm hoping for is you can tell us a little bit of how you got into all the things you got into. And then, I want to talk about, and see, the thing is what I like to do on these podcasts is educate and inspire people. Phone Sales Secrets is about helping people overcome challenges and limitations that keep them from achieving their best life and their best business results. And pretty much every one of your movies talks about that. So I want to kind of talk about that next, but could you just give us a quick, commercial on you, how you got to do what you got to do and whatnot? That'd be a great start, please.
Yeah, man. ADHD. That's the secret. That's how I got to where I am. I
sent you that T-shirt. Remember, I sent you that T-shirt.
You did. It's funny. Just look, I'm curious. I think what really got me to where I am is that I've always been, I was taught very well by my parents how to serve other people. And so I think I've started with a mindset and a heart of service. So that's taken me so many places. How it's manifested and has been in my dream is always to add sort of a positive voice to media and music. So it's sort of manifested that way in my life. But the same strategies would and could work for many others. It's manifested in entertainment for me, but it really has all been by looking at what do people need and how can I help? And then I think there's just a huge thread of also learning what I love to do and what I hated to do. And sort of, as Dan Sullivan called it, my unique ability, learning to operate really only within my unique ability. So there's a bunch of places we could go from there. I'll let you guide it, but it really has just been showing up and trying to figure out, hey, how can I help other people achieve what they want to achieve?
Thank you. Did you get your JD first? You went to law school first before you started doing all this stuff, or how'd that happen?
I've been playing music, and I started playing guitar at 6, started writing at 16, put out my first record at 18, did a bunch of writing and producing in college, had a studio in Gainesville, Florida, got to work with a bunch of different people, then got involved with the Grammy organization and stuff. But then I went through law school. I was doing music. I wasn't doing film, but I was doing music while I was going through law school. And then, I got out of law school, needed to pay the bills. My business partner said, hey, if you did the same thing for entrepreneurs and professionals that you did for bands, you'd have a great life. And so I started our agency, which we started doing branding and positioning for clients. And really what I learned is that, look, a lot of people will try to take as much money from you as they can to build your brand. And not that it doesn't take money to do a lot of it, but most people don't even understand what they're doing. And so I like to break it down very simply. A brand is simply a story. Branding is just storytelling, and a great brand is a story other people want to share for you. So I started doing that for business people. And of course, once we got successful in that, my creative itches, never went away. I just then had, some infrastructure and funding to start scratching those itches. So still write a lot of music, and then got into film. And I've made, I think, 65 or 66 docs up to now. I've got like 8 in production right now. And so I spend 80-90% of my time working through the doc world. And then my agency was still, I meet with the team weekly, and we do a lot of stuff for a lot of clients there as well. Right.
How did you end up becoming such a good salesperson with all of this? Because, it's interesting. I mean, a lot of that stuff doesn't necessarily mesh nicely with being a salesperson. So I'm just kind of interested how you kind of evolved into being such a great salesperson. Because obviously, to do what you need to do to get people to invest a significant amount of money to partner in you with a book or to do a documentary, it's not easy. So how did you evolve to become such a good salesperson?
I mean, those are even easier than I think the hardest sales of my life have been like getting, I don't know, Larry King to partner with me on my series or things like that. And so, but the answer is all the same. I mean, look, in everything we do, we have to sell in one way, shape, or form. Like we're selling our kids to go to bed and why they need to do it for health. We're selling our significant other, or before we meet to date us, where, so sales is really just, when done correctly, it's really just the highest level of serving others well. And so I find that just, showing up and paying attention to what other people are actually trying to achieve and then figuring out how can I help them achieve that. It's a very easy yes, unless they don't have the funding. If they want to build a skyscraper and they have $10, can't really help with that. But it's really just showing up and helping people. And, as Dan Candy would say, a salesperson shows up with a PowerPoint. A consultant shows up with a blank piece of paper, listens,
Mhm.
and they often come to the same conclusion, and they often know what they're going to write on that paper. But at the very least, it's even if they're not doing it authentically, which I think they should, it's showing up and learning what is it that you need, and then let me share with you how I can help. And so that's how I've always tried to approach anything that I do.
I like it. Speaking about success, I mean, you've worked with Peter Diamandis, Tony Robbins, let me see here, Jay Abraham, Jack Canfield, Dan Sullivan. I mean, you've interviewed some of the most intelligent and most successful people on the face of the planet. I would like to know what your top maybe 3 takeaways were as far as the keys to success. If you could, I mean, obviously you're talking about hours and hours of interviews and conversations. So I don't know if you could synthesize that to a smaller amount, but I think people are looking for, always looking for a couple of things that they could do maybe to change what they're doing today to get even better results.
Sure. I would say that I can give you 3 pretty quickly. The most successful people I meet, they're all relentlessly curious. Even me, I realized recently that I was sort of duped my mind into thinking I didn't like learning. I didn't really like learning the way they made me learn in school, but I do love learning. That's why I like doing documentaries. I love learning about other people, and I'm interested in people. So curiosity is key to success. Operating only within what Dan Sullivan would call unique ability. Some people call it unique genius, but figuring out what's that one thing that every day you wake up, you're more and more motivated to do it. You never get tired of doing it. You provide more value to the world by doing it, and narrowing it down to where the reason why most people retire is because they don't like what they do, or they don't like a lot of what they do. So if you can just spend your life just becoming more valuable and narrowing it down so you never have to do the things you don't want to do, that's success. That's number 2. And then number 3, you've got to find a way to experience progress and to show your clients progress, because human beings crave progress. And so how do you break down a big project into small pieces so that you're reaching a little bit more of every day? This is the same for weight loss and working out as it is for achieving, putting together a film. And so those are 3 off the top. I'm sure there's plenty more, but those are 3.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, like anything else, whatever comes off the top is usually what is most important, right? I'm saying if you have to get down to 9 or 10, it takes a little longer. So I'm intrigued a little bit more about your unique ability. How do you do that? How do you narrow that down? Like, what's the strategy for that? Because a lot of people suffer from priority confusion, and they love things, and they have these dreams, but sometimes what they're working on today isn't connected with their dreams. They have trouble identifying what that is. Do you have a specific strategy for that?
Yeah, I mean, the best one that I know is, again, Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach taught me is, write down a list of what it is you're working on right now, and every quarter try to get rid of a few of those things that are causing you the most friction. And you'll notice right away that, once you get rid of those things, other things that weren't causing you friction are now causing you the most friction. And then once you get rid of those things, it's sort of like remodeling a kitchen. You decide to paint the walls, and you go, man, now the cabinets look a little bit scuffed up. And so you redo the cabinets, and now the floors don't look right because it doesn't go with the walls in the cabinet. And it's just, it's a process of removing what's causing you the most friction at a time. And I think in 90-day increments is pretty reasonable. In quarters, hey, what do I have to do to get rid of this in the next quarter?
Gotcha. So, obviously one of your biggest successes from the book side is your series with Brian Tracy. And right, a lot of people, and Kevin Hodes here in the Dallas area is one of your clients. And I know you did the Jay Abraham gig with you, and he also did Brian Tracy. But the Brian Tracy program seems to be one of the bigger, more successful book programs for you. How'd that happen?
It definitely was. I'd say Jack Canfield is eclipsed to that by far.
Is it? Okay. I knew, because I knew Jack Canfield too, but
but all those guys, I had relationships with him. And so when I met him, I built a relationship, and I said, and I figured out how could I serve them? How could I show them I was trustworthy? And then how could I bring value to their life? And so I did. And so that it was pretty simple. I've had great over a decade of relationships with both of them and many others. But again, it just starts by showing up without looking about what can I get out of it first. It's starting showing up, especially the higher someone is on that sort of food chain. There's a lot of people vying for their attention. You've got to show up and say, hey, how can I help you?
Not just their attention, but their money too, and what they can get out of them rather than what they can bring to them, for sure.
Right.
Did you meet Brian Tracy before he had throat cancer, or afterwards?
I've been him before. And so I sort of walked through that with Brian in a few ways. I mean, not that I wasn't like his confidant, but, worked through,
Understand.
did several things with Brian during that. And, he was a trooper, man. He just kept plowing
Mm-hmm.
away, man. He is a hardworking, gritty, determined guy. And I have a lot of respect for him.
I've been listening to him since I was, I don't know, God, probably my 20s, one of my favorite personal development people. And I just, he tells a story about he was washing dishes and stuff like that and that part of his life. But I think what I found most revealing about who he was as a person is how he approached his cancer. He says, you got to get to the point where you're okay with the worst that can happen. And he says, when you do that, all your anxiety goes away. And I was just, that just blew me over. So I love that guy. He's amazing. So
yes,
it's pretty cool stuff.
Great to spend time with. Yeah. I did the documentary
Absolutely.
on Brian too, called Maximum Achievement. You can learn a lot from Brian. It's on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. What is it on Amazon? It's all on Amazon for your sake.
Also true.
So here's the thing. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I got a frog in my throat here. So, again, the reason I want to have you on here is that, the fact that we share a very similar trait. We both cry at veterans come home videos. So we both get teary-eyed over those.
Yes, we
so
do.
that's our one common link. But I saw one the other day I was going to send to you, and then I forgot to send it. But you have, a lot of your documentaries are about people overcoming, like, the Underground Railroad with Operation Toussaint and tackling sex trafficking, or, Folds of Honor, where that veteran helps for education for, for veterans who passed away. Even the movie about the canines, the New Lease on Life and stuff like that. So, there's so much of those overcoming, challenges videos and people leading by example. And you got all these success videos. You got a documentary called The Soul of Success. You've got a documentary called Maximum Achievement. So it seems like you kind of, you stay on that, what do you want to call it, that continuum that has to do with being successful and then also overcoming challenges so you can be successful, maybe not in business, but in life or another area of life. So how did that become the common theme for the documentaries you created?
It was a common theme of successful people and organizations. I didn't decide, hey, I want to make docs on this theme. I just covered people and things that I thought were interesting, and they all have those commonalities. Because you'll find anybody who achieves anything significant did not do without bumps in the road. And so you're going to learn that. And I'm always interested in learning, like, because every opportunity is on the other side of a bigger hurdle, right? So like every mountain you come to, there's huge opportunity on the other side, but the bigger the mountain, the more the opportunity, but you've got to have the tools to scale that mountain. And so I've always been just trying to learn. As it's sort of selfish in one way. I'm just learning, like, hey, let me try to learn from this person so that I have like a Swiss Army knife of tools whenever these situations arise, I'm prepared.
What kind of bumps in the road have you faced in growing, your I guess you would call it your entertainment empire versus via the written word, via audio, via video? Like, what kind of bumps have you experienced along the way?
So many. Certainly COVID was, knocked us off our butts because, I had about 9 months. I couldn't really go out and film, and there was no one saying, now would be a great time to spend $500,000 on telling my story that I don't know when I can film it or when it can be shown. So that just, that was tough. Just a lot. Just been so many. There's been there's been so many. There are, I have the pressures and the blessings of having, a team of, I don't know, at any given time, 8 to 15 people that I employ and help their families. I have my own family that I have to make sure they have enough of my time, because they reminded me more than once, more importantly, years ago, that they didn't sign up to this without me. And so I only travel 7 nights a month typically. And so there's lots of obstacles, but like, as I'm mentoring a guy right now who, a lot of his business growth is giving him anxiety, which I totally understand it. And because I am there sometimes too. I've been there a lot in the past. I'm there sometimes still, but it's like, entrepreneurs are problem solvers. If there was no problem to be solved, there would be no business. And so you're going to continually have problems. Like, as an entrepreneur, you're in the business of fixing problems. As a salesperson, you're in the business of fixing problems. The only reason people want to hire you is to get rid of their pain. Right. So you got to get used to the fact that there's going to be lots and lots of issues. The good news is on the other side of every one of those issues is an opportunity. We've certainly had our fair shares of almost broke, racked up the credit cards. I mean, I got all the stories that you've heard a million times, but it certainly
Yeah.
has happened. And then also people who just are jerks and don't believe in you and don't believe you. I did a sold out Broadway show. I put Rudy Rudiger on Broadway, 1-man show, one night only. And I was going to do it with another celebrity and who we had agreed to, and he connected with one of his family members to work out the deal. And essentially his family member said something to the tune of, you're either one of the smartest people I've ever met or one of the biggest hucksters I've ever met. And I've met an awful lot of smart people. And so I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
And so, sometimes you get vitriol being spewed from other people that has nothing to do with you, but it's hard not to take it personally when you're really just trying to live a good life and do the right things. So there's been plenty of that stuff. So I said, all right, I'll put Rudy on Broadway. I'll show you the numbers later. And I did. And that's what it is. So there's people who act that way, So
it's a shame. It's interesting because you bring people like yourself on who have had a tremendous amount of success, and we're not with you day to day, so we don't see the ebb and flow of your business, the pitfalls and everything. And one of the things I've learned is that the more successful you are and the more money you make, it's not that you don't have problems and you don't have money issues. It's just you have bigger problems and bigger money issues, right?
Yeah,
it's not like money makes that all go away,
No, with great with great reward comes great responsibility, right? And so
that's biblical, in fact.
It is very biblical. And so, and if you don't have what you want in your life, you're literally not taking big enough risks. The only way to get bigger rewards is to take bigger risks. It's literally it's a formula.
Agreed. So we've got a few minutes here. What's your favorite documentary you've worked on, or maybe your top 3?
I would say Operation Toussaint is the most visible. We have over 1,300 reviews, had over 1 million people watch it. It's raised millions of dollars. It was very important to me because it introduced me to the world of sex trafficking, child sex trafficking.
Right.
And I from there, that was in Haiti. Then we made a movie in Colombia on a huge rescue of 125 kids. And we're editing a movie right now where we're documenting the rescue of religious minorities from being trafficked by ISIS in Iraq and the Middle East. And then I'm about to release another film on trafficking in America and how it's happening right here in our own houses with our own kids. And we just don't know because they're not sharing it with us because it's such, they've gotten duped into something. So so Toussaint sort of brought me to there. Certainly my Peter Diamandis documentary was a big breakthrough for me of working with, somebody just who is sort of a global leader that got other people to take notice. And I'd say, Rudy was a big one for me too, because it got me, people kept calling me about doing sports docs. I said, sure. And they said, well, what sports docs have you done? I'm like, none, but it's the same. No, if you haven't done any sports docs. So Rudy helped me get into that realm. And then I'm doing Dick Vitale's life story right now as well. And so, everyone has been unique in its own way. I'm doing one called The Truth About Reading right now, which is fascinating how sort of our educational system is failing our kids with reading. And we've known it for years and just nothing really has happened because it's a systemic sort of problem. And I'm not convinced it's a conspiracy theory. I'm not convinced it's even a bunch of people are getting their pockets lined. I'm not even convinced that it's just systemic. And we have a solution and it's been proven to be the solution. Just no one's moving to it. And so it's been eye-opening, but again, I'm getting to learn and interact with really interesting people every day.
And what you're doing is a lot of civic impact, clearly. And, you're raising awareness for a number of causes that probably need more awareness than they're getting. So there's kind of there's an entertainment value, but there's also a human value there too, a human side of it too, which I think is amazing. I had one more question for you. Oh, you know what? Speaking of reading, you know the story of Dexter Manley, right?
No, I don't.
Yeah, he played for the Washington Redskins, and they let him graduate grammar school. He went through grammar school, junior high, high school, and college, and could not read.
I have in this documentary, I've got a teacher who couldn't read. And they were a teacher for 13 years and was not able to read ever. Wow.
Right.
So it's happening all around you. I guess what I'd say to anyone listening to this, if you are struggling with your reading, if you're what they call subliterate, most people aren't illiterate. You can't read anything. It's just, you're not reading at the grade level you should be. Don't worry about dyslexia diagnoses, any of that. It is fixable. It is fixable for like 99% of people. Typically,
Wow.
if you really had a learning disability, it wouldn't show up in one subject. That was like a really big key for me. Like it wouldn't show up in just one subject. It would show up everywhere. You'd have a problem learning. Most kids don't have a problem learning. They have a problem learning the way they're being taught, particularly reading. So I would just say
Right.
anyone here who's listening or watching this, don't be ashamed or embarrassed about it. Look up like evidence-based literacy instruction, look up the science of reading. There's a lot out there that can help you. Don't be ashamed about it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shame around that. My son has dyslexia, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know anybody that wants to admit they can't do what most people think is a basic skill. So it's got to be really, really hard for people to step up and say, hey, I can't do that, you know?
And it is fixable, and dyslexia is, we got a Harvard PhD saying it is curable. It literally just means you don't learn the same way other people learn how to read.
Right. Tony Robbins talks about kinesthetic, orally, visually, hourly, right?
Yep.
I mean, so we all learn different ways. So real quickly, tell us what you're working on now. You said you got 6 documentaries you're working on.
Yep, I'm working on one with Chris Voss, the former lead FBI hostage negotiator, author of Never Split the Difference. I'm working on Dick Vitale's life story. I'm working on one called The Truth About Reading. I'm finishing up, it's happening right here, the Sex Trafficking in America one. And those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head.
All right, cool. Awesome. It's amazing to speak to you, man. I just, every time I see you on Facebook, you got something else going on. I keep up with all of it. So obviously, yeah, really obviously clear and good systems as well, for sure, and good leadership. So, you know, we met you through your celebrity branding agency, and you've helped thousands of business owners across the United States, probably even of Canada, you know, change the way that they're viewed in the marketplace from being just another whatever to being an expert to being an authority. And so can you tell us a little bit about this very kind giveaway you're giving away?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we've helped over 3,600 clients in 63 countries across the world build their brands. And so I took, you know, what I'd learned from branding and storytelling with film and business and put it into a book called Story Selling. And the book is called Story Selling. It's how to sell without selling by telling your brand story. And so I've given you guys the PDF and the audiobook. If you like the audiobook, I'd love a review on Audible because I give it away so much I don't get reviews. Or if you like the book, leave a review on Amazon. That's the most helpful thing you can do. But there's the audiobook and the PDF for free.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. We've kind of come to the end of our time here, but you gave us a truckload of really good value and information. I appreciate it immensely. Anything else you want to add before we let people go?
No, man. Anything I can do, you can find me under my name just about anywhere.
Yeah, Nick Nanton, anywhere. Yeah, I guess I'll have to send you the link where I found your bio.
I just found it by Googling Nick Nanton bio. Yeah, it's an old website page that's still out there. So I appreciate it. We'll get it taken care of.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Hey, everybody, that's Nick Nanton. I'm Wally Bressler, and this has been On the Phone. Hey there, this is Wally Bressler, and on behalf of my guest today, I'd like to thank you for joining us for this episode of On the Phone. If you'd like more information on how to overcome sales call reluctance, procrastination, and self-sabotage, and become an expert on the phone, go to www.phonesalessecrets.com. And if you'd like my free course on how to overcome sales call reluctance, please go